In this video, I want to talk about how to properly determine if certain advice is what you should listen to or not. I think this is a big issue because there's a lot of bad advice on the internet, and some of it is dressed very credibly. And I've discovered this myself numerous ways because I would be reading business books from very successful individuals. Then I'll read a viral article, or sometimes not even a viral article, but just an article by a blogger or someone who has a large audience. And you see the advice that's given, and it's completely contrary and the exact opposite of what the book says. And that's a bit frustrating because you look at the comments and they're praising this guy and saying, "Oh my goodness, this is so incredible. This is great advice. Thank you. You are the man. I'm going to share this with my family." And it's very easy to do that because the masses are very, very stupid. And I don't mean this in a mean way, but it's very true. Uh, it's very easy to make your main goal to find something that's believable, create a piece of content for that, and then just share it and make it viral. In fact, there's a ton of stuff like this on social media platforms. Facebook is very well known for this, and I've seen a lot of people who I would have assumed was very smart who have fallen for stuff like this. For instance, there's been completely fraudulent stories about Steve Jobs and how his last words on his deathbed were how he regretted his entire life because he cared too much about money. And that's completely false if you did any research on Steve Jobs. And yet stuff like that gets millions of shares. It's devastating and also frustrating. And so the point is, how do you weight important information? And beyond that, I think another issue I ran into is this issue of just following not really knowing what to do. There's this one guy I talked to, and he said that he and his family had been reading law of attraction type books for years. Very generic advice like from Law of Attraction, Think and Grow Rich, stuff like that. And it never helped him. I mean, at least he believed it helped, but it never did anything for him. He wasn't wealthy, and he was still struggling to get by. So what was the issue there? You're reading all these books, and I think the issue is, first off, that you have to pinpoint and actually do the stuff that's said in the book. And I have a really darn good feeling that a lot of stuff said in the book he wasn't doing. If I would have asked him, he would have a million excuses. Stuff like, because it goes into deep detail on specific steps that you have to take, such as, write out a plan, say it out loud 2 times a day, and envision that you already have the money. Write it out so that you have a specific definitive number, and then on top of that, what value in exchange you give for that, and then all sorts of stuff on mastermind groups, have a weekly mastermind, and all sorts of stuff that I'm pretty sure that this guy wasn't doing. But more importantly than that, I think, let's just be honest, a lot of the wealth advice out there is very generic. It's just because it kind of has to be, because it's catered towards everyone. Because you can't give specific advice on a plumber who wants to become wealthy versus a tech investor or a startup. It's just too diversified, and you have to spend one-on-one attention. So a lot of those people, they just look to generic advice to help everyone. So I think that's a bit of an issue, and I think it goes back to, how do you determine what advice to follow? First thing is, of course, get a mentor that is specific in that field you want to follow. So let's say you're in the cotton business. Get a mentor who's made a ton of money in the cotton business rather than reading more generic stuff. Second, I think the other big thing, as far as deciding which one to weight, should you read this book or this book? Should you listen to this piece of advice, this blog article, or this? First, you want to gauge relevancy. Second, you want to gauge actual credibility. And then, just as a small third check, you have to make sure that credibility is real. So what exactly does this mean in simple terms? The first thing is relevancy. Rather than reading more generic law of attraction stuff, let's say you're in the coffee business. Did you know that there's tons of books by the founders of Starbucks, someone who has grown a coffee business from one shop to a multi-billion-dollar business, who have, and they've literally told you all their secrets to success in these books. And guess what? No one reads these books. They have like one review on Amazon. It's astoundingly stupid how people aren't willing to spend $5 on a book. And so that's the relevancy thing. Rather than, you know, listening to advice from someone who made their money in, I don't know, tech stocks or the beer industry, why don't you find someone who's really good at the coffee industry, because they have all the specifics that are maybe different from the beer industry that they can go into depth on helping you on. The second thing would be credibility. So if you have the choice, you want to look towards what have they accomplished in this field. And if you have to choose between two people, this guy's made $1 billion, this guy's made $1 million, you go with the billionaire. And then the third thing is kind of like the scam or no scam check. You have to make sure that this guy is legit. You have to make sure this guy really made that money and is not lying about it. You just have to be skeptical a bit, check that out, and then just make sure that this is something that's relevant, credible, and then something that's legit, and then you go from there. So use that to your specific goals in life, and I think it will get you far. I think relevancy is important because advice in one field is not as good as sometimes advice in another field from someone who's maybe less credible in the sense that they've made less money, but because they're in a related field, they can help you much more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.